So I am actually very grateful that my heart was split wide open, because it allowed me to go deep within and understand the root of it. And what I discovered was divorce was not the original wound. It was just a wound that was like that last, that last piece of something that just breaks you wide open. And so when I understood that, it became a lot easier to heal from that. Now, of course, it was then like going into this rabbit hole, or going backwards into this rabbit hole of understanding, well, what originally broke my heart, or why was my heart broken in the first place? What's going on? And so, as you can see from my previous video, I talked about escapism, and I talked about disassociation and how that all developed from me having experienced trauma. So the more I began healing, I started understanding that it was the traumatic event that was that first heartbreak, right? And then not having that heal, and it was such a big wound, everything else that I have experienced, people that I were in love with, or friendships that went sour, all those different heartbreaks, how no matter how significant they were or how small they were, they all played their role, and kind of like, allowing me to add the cement, on the previous one. So this just kind of, this heartbreak busted me wide open. And the reason he was able to, like, why all the other ones didn't allow for this heart to just be split in two, right? Or in so many pieces. And it was because I allowed myself to be vulnerable. I was in this space of, I felt, I just surrendered, I surrendered. I wasn't carrying all those protective gears, and even though my heart was like, I'm not going to feel this pain that was there before, so I'm covering it up, I still kind of like wasn't walking around with my guards up. My guards were down. And so, in a sense, would I wish it on anyone? Because it is one of the hardest things to get over. So, no. But for me, I'm glad now I can tell you that I'm glad that it happened, because it allowed me to get back to me. It allowed me to get back to my heart, to the truth of who I am, accepting myself, right? And accepting that original me, and not separating from her. So I wanna talk about how, the different stages of grieving, right? Because no matter what is the experience, when you're experiencing pain and a huge change in your life, you're gonna experience a sense of loss, right? So you're gonna grieve the loss of this relationship. And so the reason I'm talking about this one particular experience is because it was like the catalyst. It was just, as I said, it just tumbled, that domino effect, and then just brought me right to my center. And I couldn't hide from it anymore. I couldn't run from it, because the thing was, I didn't want to attract more pain in my life. And that was the goal of me shielding my heart. But at the same time, I was attracting pain. I wasn't able to, not that you can avoid pain altogether, but you can choose healthy relationships. You can choose healthy partnership. You can choose a different path when you have more information, right? When you allow yourself to tune in, check in, and know what you've been through, know what doesn't work for you, know what you don't enjoy and don't want to participate in, and do something about it. But when you just bury it, then what you're doing is your energy is just attracting more of that to you. Okay? So here it says the 7 stages of grief: shock and denial, been through it, pain and guilt, been through it. I would say absolutely. Anger and bargaining. I think there was a little bit of bargaining with myself. But I think anger a lot for sure. I'm sure there was some depression, the upward turn, reconstruction and working through, and acceptance and hope. So actually, when I read this list just now, even though I've seen this list before, when I saw the part that says and hope, it literally just gave me so much joy, right? But I want to go back to the one that I struggled with most. So I'm glad that there's hope, because I can tell you right now, where I am sitting and talking, I feel the hope. I feel the hope of a new day. I have the hope in understanding that my heart is strong enough to endure, not endure that I'm going to go into a negative experience, but my heart is strong enough to weather the weather, right? So the part that was hard for me during, even though few of them were hard, I have to say acceptance. That was no joke. No joke, no joke, no joke. Accepting what happened. Accepting that the life you're creating, it's over. Like this path that you're going on with, with certain people, no. Like you can still go, in the path of friendship, you can go in the path of like neighbors and the path of co-parenting, but that path where you were going and that person was, your life partner, no, that's over. So tell that to yourself, right? Tell that to yourself and see how hard that is, and see how hard to hear it, to accept it, to sit yourself down and say, this path that you're going with this particular person as your life partner, no, that's not going to happen. So of course that comes in the sense of you're not in alignment, right? Your soul's purpose is not in alignment with that person's soul purpose, like what they're here to serve on earth, for whomever is going to be their life partner. It's not you, and the same for them. So the journey that I'm walking on, they can't walk with me as my life partner. So that destroyed the image that I had, the dreams that I had for the future, the dreams that I was pursuing then, and a lot. And giving up those dreams was like pulling out your tooth, your very, I want to say healthy tooth, very like stuck in there tooth that is just not going anywhere, but you don't see like what's underneath it, right? It could be cavity, it could be whatever. So it was hard to accept all of those things. So of course I wrote some stuff about why it was hard for me to accept it, right? I had the perception that what I was seeing, what I was experiencing, and what I was engaging on was all real. It was all real. And coming from a background of having experiences in my childhood and later on also in my life where I escaped, I disassociated. So, often in those stages, you create this fantasy world where you feel safe, where you feel like, I can escape to that. So that wasn't the case here. This was a space where I was vulnerable. I was voluntarily choosing to be there. I was participating. I was co-creating. So it was real to me. And to have it come apart, and then, like you build a puzzle and you're building a puzzle and then it just comes apart, and I couldn't accept that. I couldn't accept that it wasn't real. Like I can see it with my eyes. I can feel it. I can touch it. What do you mean it's not real? Which part of it is not real? Which part of it is not supposed to go like that? Right? Which part is not real? And I'm still learning where the camera is where I should be looking. So if I'm a bit, it's just because I'm adjusting to the camera. That's on my phone sitting sideways. And so that messed me up. It messed me up. I was like fighting with acceptance, you know? And then, of course, it judged my perception of things. I criticized whether I was even able to see things for what they are. Is that blue? Is it really blue? You know, is this real? And I went through that whole like roller coaster of that. And I often wondered, you know, if that perception was even correct. Like it was just me, you know, going at me. You know, why did you see things this way? Why did you think this was a lifetime thing? Why did you, you know, how come you didn't realize this was just a seasonal relationship? Why didn't you know that, right? So, of course, self-attack. That was one of the ways that I was like not accepting it. I was like criticizing and judging myself. Yeah, that stage was totally overwhelming. And I remember I went to a meetup, you know, it was like-minded meetup. And we were sitting in a circle and we were taking turns being gurus. And so someone will tell you an experience they're going through and you would be like their guru, you would give them advice. So I remember I had shared that I was having a hard time accepting that, you know, then my relationship was over, that, you know, just accepting divorce, I was having a hard time with that. And I remember someone said something to me about, what was it? I'm forgetting it now, oh my God. I think it was a reference with like, I think it was like, why do you have to accept it? You don't have to accept it, just be okay with it, or something like that. It shifted my perception. So I'm forgetting it right now. I had it 2 seconds ago and it's gone. So it just shifted my perception of, because I was putting pressure on myself. I have to accept it. You have to move on. You have to do this. You can't feel, it was just too much, right? And so what did I start doing? I started to learn and practice acceptance behaviors. What does acceptance mean? What does that look like when you accept something, right? Okay, so I wrote some stuff down. Like, what does it mean when a person you love is no longer in that role that they used to have? And I started listing what that meant, what it looked like, and what it required. So if they were no longer my partner, what does that mean, right? What would it require from me? Okay, so such as placing boundaries and keeping anyone who was not an intimate partner behind a certain line. So then you start changing your behaviors and your patterns. So learning to accept that this relationship was over meant I had to change my behaviors. I had to create new patterns. I had to set boundaries, right? So of course, energetically, and so many, for sure, emotionally, you're used to someone. So it became this natural flow. And then when you have to interrupt this natural flow, it takes time. So you have to allow yourself the time to step into those spaces and not just go cold turkey. Of course, some areas is possible. But when you're talking about a long-term relationship where you are connected with someone, your heart is going to need time. It's going to need baby steps in some areas, and only you can define what those baby steps are. But if you don't create boundaries earlier on, then you're exposing your heart to more pain, and that's going to delay your healing. So you would need to start by creating boundaries, change interactions, change behaviors in terms of how you engage with those people. Okay? And also remove this this expectation that you have of how you can rely on them, right? Maybe you used to rely on them for advice, or for financial support, or for just holding you accountable, or maybe someone who you can rely on. You have to change your behavior. So this is how I started to be able to accept that things have changed by changing my behavior. And the more I started to accept, which allowed me to start moving forward, then my heart started to feel better. My heart started to accept. It started to see the purpose of it, right? See the benefit of moving on and allowing myself to experience something different. Okay, what else did I write here? Having relaxation normally have a partner. So yeah, boundaries. Change, implement new boundaries, right? I have this this one boundary where there are certain people that can call me past 9 p.m. and starting from 9 p.m. I don't answer certain phone calls. I'm sure a lot of people have those. For me, it's like, and at the same time, if I see early on in the morning a certain person is calling me a few times, I also then understand, okay, this is emergency, this is important. So I've created that boundary just for myself so that I'm not just open to anyone, anytime, anywhere. Okay, of course, for my kids, it's like non-negotiable. Anytime you need to call me, you're calling me. Okay, and of course they also understand, like, if it's not an emergency and you can wait, then you don't have to wake me up 3 in the morning. But if you feel like you want to say, hey mom, what's up, 3 in the morning, call me. So that's something that's small, but I had to implement that. Just like removing expectations. It was hard because I had this expectation that people were supposed to be a certain way and behave a certain way in my life. And that caused me a lot of heartache. And to remove that heartache, remove your expectation of people. Okay, so heal your heart step by step. Find tools. If you find one area that you're struggling with, look deeper into it. Look up the word acceptance or anger, right? Is anger coming from you're treating me a certain way and I'm not liking it, so this is my natural response? Okay, once I identify that this is a natural response to a behavior that I'm not enjoying, what steps can then I take to make sure I don't continue to experience this, right? So then that requires actions from you. If the person is treating me this way, is through the phone or in personal or whatever, then I have to block their number. Let them know if it's someone important to you, you communicate to them. You say to them, this type of interaction, I'm not enjoying that. Okay? And if they're not hearing you and they're not understanding you, you can also choose to say, from this moment forward, reach me by email. Or I'm going to take a pause from you. Or you could choose not to tell them and just block them based on what role they play in your life and how you feel is the best way to proceed with that. And if it's someone that you see or they usually behave like that in person, stop exposing yourself to them, right? So healing, it's not just about looking into the past and what happened, but at the same time changing current behaviors to make sure that we don't bring more of that pain into our life, so we're not in a state of constantly needing to heal. And healing your past, you need to be able to explore, sit with yourself and say, how is my heart feeling? Like, I didn't deal with those past pains because I didn't have the tools, and some were overwhelming, right? And so, but when this happened, when this experience ended, I had, it kind of like, it caused me to just stay still. And the stillness of this change is where I started to look for solutions. I wanted to feel better. And because I wanted to feel better, I started looking at areas that were not feeling better. And that one area was my heart. So where in my heart, where do I feel shame? Do I feel anger? Do I feel sadness? So once I heal or address this issue, how come there's still sadness? So then you sit with yourself and you say, when was the first time I felt this sadness? Where is this sadness coming from? It really requires an inventory. Sit with yourself, take a pen and paper, and start writing, asking yourself questions. Where is the root of this pain? Where is this sadness coming from? And as you start to identify it, then you can start to address it. And the ways to address it, there are many tools. Of course, sometimes people will soothe so that they don't have to fully feel it. It could be through simple things as consuming too much sugar or more than normal, just so that you have that numbing effect in terms of, oh, this tastes good, this feels good, and so you're not going to address it. I would say don't soothe too much with things that are going to keep you from addressing it. So if one, say, beverage that has sugar in it a day allows you to kind of soothe yourself because you've been doing a lot of healing work, and then the rest, drink water, because you need yourself to be conscious, to be present. You need to be present with your emotions, because as the emotions rise, you want to know what they are. You want to give a name to them. Is this sadness? Oh, this is what sadness feels in me. Well, where is this sadness coming from? Oh, this event. Learn to call that event forward, okay? And look at it and say, this is what you came to teach me. This is what I'm going to take as a lesson from this. And then this no longer serves me, and I'm going to release it. And if you don't have an inventory of all the stuck emotions that are in your heart, that are in your body, then you don't know what they are. So it really, healing requires, the first thing it requires is self-reflection. And you have to be with yourself still enough to take the time to reflect, right? Reflect on what's going on. Reflect on how you're feeling. And if you do this day to day and you get in the habit of doing this, okay, then you will call forth the issues, the emotions, and then you will find tools to address them. So if you have lots of anger, right, and that anger, you don't want to project it on people that you care about, people that you love, so what do you want to do? You want to make sure that you find ways to release it, because anger is like such an intense energy, right? Because when your heart is broken, it is broken, but it has all these emotions in there, right? Anger, shame, frustration, sadness, all these different things. So you call up that one emotion and you say, well, this is an emotion that moves fast because it's anger. You might want to take a pillow and just start going at the pillow, or a mattress, or doing boxing or something, right? I used to like be in my car and I would have the windows up or music playing, and I would scream. I would scream to help release my anger, right? And if I felt sad, I would just take that emotion and I would be with that emotion for as long as I could that day, or for as long as I needed to. And I have to tell you, some emotions have layers and they take longer, and they have from this age I was angry, or from this age I was sad. So for years of things you haven't addressed. So you have to identify it. You have to sit with it, okay? And you have to feel your way through it, and also look for tools of how to release that energy, because it is energy. It is energy. And if you are, playing thoughts that are keeping your heart in a state of pain, then you look for tools to have a better thought process, a healthier thought process. There's a book by Iana Van Zandt, and I believe it is the 40-day of I am. And you write I am 40 times during the day. And it is, I am love, I am light, I am strong, I am kind, I am loving. And the reason it flows through me and is all in the present tense is because I practiced it. So I have so much of that, right? I am generous. I am present. I am enough. I am love. I am light. I am precious. So if it's your thought that is triggering the pain that's causing your heart to feel ache, then you find tools to help you retrain your thoughts. If it's your if it's your emotions, like I just say, identify them, sit with them, hear what they have to say in terms of the experience and the story and the memory, and then go look into what that word means. Why does that emotion usually show up? And what is it trying to tell you? And so if that emotion shows up to tell you this particular thing, change your response. If you usually react and that reaction causes more pain to you or others, you change the way you respond so that there is the room to pause. There's always that in-between space. So it is not just I feel this emotion and I have to react. Well, I feel this emotion. What is it telling me? How am I going to choose to respond in a way that empowers me and does not disempower the next person? Okay? So in the past, those emotions, you didn't know how to deal with them. But as you let them come up and you assess them and see what they have to tell you, then you're better able to address them, to address them, to heal them, and to release them. Because the goal of healing your heart is to empty it. To empty it from emotions that long overdue that should have been out, and have it just be light and airy. Imagine your heart as a mansion, your mansion, a space that you can step into. It's just you decide who comes in, who goes out, right? This beautiful mansion that it could be, if you decide that it's in a farm, if you decide that it's up on a mountain, if you decide it's a home that is standing over water, whatever it is. And in that home, there are rooms. There are rooms that only you can go in. There are rooms that precious people in your life can go in. There are rooms that you leave open for humanity, for community, right? There's rooms in that mansion that, as you receive guests, they come and they go, so you know. And then there's rooms where people have to earn the right to enter. So you want to make sure you go into your heart and assess, where is anger? Is this private room, does it have anger, right? Is this other room here, does it have sadness? Does it have joy? Do I want more joy? So if those emotions that are, that are stuck energy, that are keeping you from experiencing the full potential of you, are taking up space, you need to go empty them. Identify them. Okay, find better ways to express them, heal and release them, go through your grieving stage. Okay, go through your grieving stage, know where you are. If you are stuck in one stage of grieving, look into it. I write so much, right? So I would say journal about it, ask questions. How come I'm feeling stuck here? What else does it want to tell me? What lessons am I not fully getting from this particular stage of grieving? What information does, shame have to offer me, right? I remember, because I went through a stage of shame too, and I remember I was sharing it with someone. It was a place I used to work, and we were just talking about things, and I said, I don't know how it came up, and I said, yeah, shame is the one that I don't know if I was struggling with or that was present for me then, because I was doing a role that I wasn't very I felt like I was being looked down on in terms of that position. But at the same time, I had learned previously to not label myself or my worth based on the work that I was doing. So I was kind of intrigued that I was going through that. But at the same time, I think it was that part of healing that I was going through that was bringing up past shame. And I remember her saying how it's been a long time that she had experienced shame. And I thought it was nice to hear that. So I think she was, fascinated, not fascinated, but she was kind of like, it was interesting for her to hear that I was currently experiencing that. But I hope that it had given her also the awareness that it was a long time that she wasn't there, which is such a positive thing. And at the same time that I was going through that. So listening to Tyrese Gibson's song, I think it's called I'm Ashamed of Me. I heard that song over and over and over during the day and for days. And like, it was like he was ashamed of the behavior he did. But just being ashamed of yourself for having experienced stuff in your life, for having been treated a certain way. You just feel so ashamed, right? And so that was a stage 2, and I had to journal through it. I had to explore it. So healing is really about self-reflection, self-discovery, and dissecting your heart. And our heart is such a precious, precious organ. Not that it's the only one, but it is, right? And there was a time where I decided, okay, I am working on my heart. I am working on my emotions. I wanted to work on my body. So I was like, let me go and try this workout. It was a new gym. It was my brother's friend, and I went there, and he was doing this. He had like a workout set out for us, and we were doing it. And it was kicking my butt, let me tell you. And I remember saying to him, I've given birth to 5 kids. I can handle pain. So, but it was something. I had a realization that it wasn't just my physical body. My heart wasn't there yet. My heart was in such a wounded place that I couldn't get myself to perform physically. Like, there were times when, like, I could be sad or angry and I could physically do things. But this was where my heart was like, I couldn't go any further. So I realized then that I had to go back and do more work on my heart before I could fully commit to the workout, because I didn't have the strength in my heart. When you're that person who gets up and go and does no matter what, you just can't pause to focus on certain things long enough because it will bring you down. I literally was in a state of pause. And my heart, I couldn't convince my heart to get up and do the workout. I couldn't convince my heart to go past that workout. It was like I could do a certain limit, but I couldn't go past it. It was something else. And it was a great realization that I had about me. So when someone's heart can go a bit further and you push it, this is when you push heart attack. This is when you push different types of heart issue. And it's not that it will be done through like exercise, but it's just in life in general, when you push your heart to go in a certain path, when you have too much heavy weight from like those emotions that are just bringing it down, you can't. So when people harbor all this anger and sadness and all this frustration for too long, and not only are they bitter, but they are actually causing destruct to their heart, to the organ itself. So I couldn't get it to do that performance. So that's why I'm saying to you, you have to find a way to empty. And if that means you need to make time, maybe 5 minutes, just what is my heart feeling? Write it down. Tomorrow, go over it. What caused this feeling? Or how can I, release this energy of this emotion? What was it telling me? Journal, self-reflection, sit down and reflect on what happened, what's in your heart, take an inventory, and then address it based on that. Okay? And once your heart is much lighter, then you can get the rest of you, like, get your, not that you have to completely not work out, But you could, I was going for walks. I would run and I would walk. I would run, I would walk. I would do different things because my heart just wasn't there. So you slowly get your cardio back. Because it's lighter, it's not carrying all that heavy energy from the emotions. It's all connected. You heal your heart, you heal your body, you heal your mind. You can do a little bit at a time. Okay? So, of course, we're talking about healing your heart. And as you're healing your heart, you can still take small steps to heal your physical body through eating healthy, exercising. You can also heal your mind through changing your thought patterns. Read about what affects the mind and how to have a healthy mindset. And when you start healing in general, it starts to affect other parts of you anyhow. So you're doing a positive thing for yourself. So I know I said a lot, and I hope that I have offered some tools with how to address a broken heart. And don't always take it as face value when you are experiencing a heartbreak. It could be that's the first time your heart is breaking, and that's fine. And just know that you'll get over that too. And if it's not the first time, you want to know too, because you want to dig deeper. You want to clean it out, right? It's just like when you're doing gardening, you don't want to just keep cutting the top. You want to go to the root. And if you have an infection, you don't want to just clean the top. You want to go in and heal and take vitamins and make sure that it really heals. So you want your heart to really heal. And when your heart begins to heal, and as it's healing, be gentle with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Be loving and kind with yourself. And when you have that, you can then offer it to other people. And it's okay to take precaution with your heart. You don't have to just offer it to people. You don't have to just leave it wide open. Like I said, it's a beautiful mansion. And you get to decide the gate that goes around it. You get to decide who comes in the fence. You get to decide who even gets to come in and sit and have tea. And even so, there's so much more rooms left where people can enter. Get to know those rooms in your heart. Clean them out. And when they're clean, take your time. Take your time and decide and choose who goes where. Know that for yourself first. And reserve a room in your heart that is just for you. No one can go there, just for you. And you're allowed to have that. You are allowed to have that. Okay, so love yourself first. And loving yourself first, you are honoring God. God never wants you to come second to yourself. Never wants you to come second in your life. Of course, there's areas where you put your kids, your parents, people you care about first. But that doesn't mean that you hurt or abuse yourself while doing that. So honor you, honor your heart. Take the time to heal. Find the tools, they are out there. Google them, read books. Okay, make the time for you to heal. So this is Fozia on Fo's journey across the bridge. Start your journey to healing. Bye.